Okay guys, so I'm going to go ahead today and do a recording of a vocabulary preview for you with us watching the movie. I want to make sure that I still get this preview done for you. So I'm going to do it this way and then let you guys kind of watch it in your own time. You can watch it in an Eagle period or over the weekend or something. Just make sure you do watch it. Well, I suppose if you're hearing me say this, then you are watching it. So thanks for coming to watch it, guys. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go into our weekly folder. I'm going to go to word study. Those first two are not published for you guys anymore. They just show up on mine because I'm the teacher. But we are going for log this week. So I'm going to open that up and I'm going to send that on over to Notability, add to an existing note. And I'm going to look through there and find, there's my Greek and Latin roots right there. Next, and I'm going to import that. I'm going to go on out of there and go to Notability. Go to that Greek and Latin roots. There's my new list. Hopefully you guys have done that same thing. If you need to pause the video right now to make sure that you get that all loaded, that is fine. Hopefully you're able to split screen this and then you can just take your notes on your sheet as I talk. So at any rate, guys, we are looking at this LOG, which is talking about word, idea, reason, and speech. And immediately I think about the word logic. When you're talking about ideas and reason, I think about the word logic. And I bet that that's probably going to come into play with these words that we're looking at. All right, so this first one is analogy. It is an analogy, and this is words that draw comparisons and similarities, okay? Analogies a lot of time are going to show you that the, oh my gosh, I can't talk, that you might have two things. I'm trying to think of an example of an analogy, and I'm having a really hard time doing that. So when you have a hard time doing that, why not go to analogy example, because I can't think right now. Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. That is from Forrest Gump, if you've never heard that. Good movie. So sometimes you do analogies like this guy over here on the right, where you're making comparisons, where you use those dots. I know we've talked about those before. Sometimes, too, you will do things like a saying. She is as light as a feather. My brother is as strong as an ox. Time is money, so spend it wisely. Those are just different like sayings that you can say, but they're always making comparisons. So time and money, right? Light as her weight and her feather and a feather. They're always making a comparison between things. Okay, so going back to this, I'm going to do comparisons, and I'm going to say similes, metaphors, things like that, okay? The next one is apology. Hopefully you guys know what an apology is. That's words that are expressing regret, okay? Regret, asking to be excused, okay? I'm sorry. Okay, this one here, most of the time when we spell this word, we spell it D-I-A-L-O-G-U-E. How we typically spell it. I don't know why it is that way on this sheet, and every year I kind of have to change it with them. So dialogue is a conversation between two or more people. This obviously is something that you guys have been working on, so you know all about that right now. I'm just going to write the words quoted text right here. Next one is epilogue. Epilogue, make sure you know it's at the end of the book, okay? An epilogue is something that is added at the very end of the book that almost tells you like the rest of the story, okay? So, you know, if everybody lived happily ever after at the end of the book, they might add one more chapter on just to tell you about how the prince and the princess had a baby and there was now an heir to the throne or something like that. A lot of times they do that. If you've ever watched the Harry Potter movies, they did an epilogue in that very last movie when they showed Harry with his and Ginny's child when he was sending him to Hogwarts for the first time. So that was kind of like an epilogue scene there. It also can be a short poem or a speech directly to an audience, but most of the time when we hear epilogue, we're talking about what's at the end of the book. A eulogy, this is when you do this basically at a funeral, okay, or celebration of life or something like that. When somebody has passed away, somebody delivers the speech, okay? It's a funeral speech pretty much, where somebody stands up and says nice words about the person that we have lost. Next one is a logbook. This is a compound word. It is a book in which you log information, okay? So it's a logbook. We've got, it says an official record, a book in which information is written in a timely manner. So really just kind of like a journal, right? Logical, there you go. There's that logic piece. Logical, though, is what you call somebody who uses thought or reason, okay? Or if a statement you want to call something like, okay, that sounds logical, that makes sense, okay? So there it says makes sense. Logo is pretty much the trademark symbol, okay? So you've got this stuff going on here. I always like to think about this. You guys know that Just Do It, you know, the Nike swoosh is a logo. And then we've got monologue down here. A monologue is a long speech made by one person. They usually call, like on comedy shows, like late night comedy shows, usually the person who is the host comes out and like tells a few jokes before they even get started. It's kind of like their turn to like entertain the audience before they start bringing guests in. They call that a monologue because it's just them standing and delivering kind of whatever, you know, they're talking to the audience or they're making jokes or whatever. So it's one person and long speech is pretty much the biggest thing there. And then a prologue. This one, I want you to know that this is at the beginning, okay? So the epilogue here and the prologue are connected. But you've got the end, which, look, E, end. And then you've got prologue, which is the beginning. Or pre-book start, if you will. And you've got your P there. Okay? So this is like an epilogue, except it's at the beginning, so it gives you information that the author wants you to have before you start their story. So epilogue is the information that the author wants you to know after the story ends, and the prologue is anything that the author would want you to know before you start reading the story. So that's all the words, guys. Make sure you go through these. Make sure you do some studying. I want to see some really great scores on these quizzes like we got this past week, because that was awesome. Thanks, guys.